All right. Well, welcome everyone, and we'll go over some group norms. So if you could rename yourself to include your chapter, that would be appreciated. And I'm Corinne Dowd, by the way. Um, and please mute when you're not speaking and avoid or define acronyms. And this meeting is being recorded. So we'll start out with how Mothers Out Front got involved with Stop Private Jet Expansion. And then we'll talk about Mothers Out Front SPJE Affinity Group, which is the group that's hosting this meeting. And when I refer to SPJE, that stands for Stop Private Jet Expansion. Laura Sullivan from the SPJE Coalition is our guest speaker tonight and will be sharing um, information followed by opportunity for questions. So, we first learned about the proposed expansion for private jets at Hanscom Field Airport in January 2023. That is when the developers filed their environmental notification form and their plans became public. Mothers Out Front took action. Some of the Hanscom area chapters filed a public comment opposing private jet expansion, and the Bedford chapter started a local campaign. Mothers Out Front Massachusetts adopted a position opposing private jet expansion, highlighting the injustice of the wealthiest contributing the most to climate change. And they also partnered with a coalition to stop private jet expansion at Hanscom or anywhere. So then many chapters and individual supporters got involved. And most recently, Mothers Out Front National joined the coalition. You'll be hearing more about the coalition and the proposed Hanscom Airport expansion when Laura does her presentation. And it's not just about Hanscom, but Hanscom and anywhere. This is a list of Mothers Out Front chapters that have partnered with the coalition to stop private jet expansion at Hanscom or anywhere. We also have a Stop Private Jet Expansion, or SPJE, affinity group. But what is that? Well, Mothers Out Front Massachusetts, as you know, has many local chapters. They also have two action groups, the Corporate Responsibility and the Healthy Soil Livable Future group. And now we have one affinity group, the Stop Private Jet Expansion, or SPJE Affinity Group. An affinity group is a statewide interest group open to Mothers Out Front members from different communities who are interested in a topic. So we have many chapters partnered with the coalition, and we have many folks that are in Mothers Out Front that are interested in stopping private jet expansion. So this affinity group, it's really a better way that we can communicate with each other and work together. The SPJE Affinity Group has a public, so these are what the infrastructure of the affinity group looks like. We have a public facing web page on the Mothers Out Front website, and Kathy Kirby manages that. And on that page, you'll find a link to the SPJE petition. And though this is a coalition petition, it has the Mothers Out Front link, and this is for tracking purposes. Um, Also, on the Mothers Out Front Knowledge Hub, there is a two-sided handout, which is a great resource you can use for tabling. That also has the petition QR code with the Mothers Out Front link. So basically, when you see the material from the coalition at spje.org, there are links to the petition, but we're hoping that you can use the Mothers Out Front provided links that we have because that gives us additional tracking um, for that. And the SPJE Affinity Group also has its own Google group and Google Drive, and Sue Swanson and I manage that. The Affinity Group also has coaching support from Mothers Out Front National. I represent the SPJE Affinity Group on the MALT, and that's the Mothers Out Front Massachusetts leadership team. And unlike action groups, which have goals, affinity groups are not required to have goals, but we still think that it's a good idea. So these are our draft goals, which we'll be finalizing in the next week or so. So basically, we have this infinity group, and right now we have over 20 people in the group. But what we really want to do is try to encourage folks within the group to become more active and take action. Um, so the engagement goal is move four or more affinity group supporters to taking action by increasing SPJ affinity group communication, information sharing, and action in our commitment to stop private jet expansion. And the actions we can do to reach this goal for is to build power. And that really focuses on getting more people to sign the petition and encouraging as many individuals and organizations, and in our case, chapters, to submit a public comment when the public comment period for the SDIR, which stands for the Supplemental Draft Environmental Impact Report, comes out. And again, when Laura does her presentation, she's going to give you more insight into the SDIR and such. Um, Also, for communication, we want to share relevant action alerts and updates within this affinity group. Um, Encourage people to attend an affinity group meeting and also to write letters to the editor. And this could be to encourage others to submit a public comment and to get the word out. And then to build relationships, such as exploring potential allyships we could have with other Mothers Out Front chapters or action groups and resource teams. So by working together, we can build significant momentum for change. And this SPJ Affinity Group is a new group that hopefully will allow us to work together and reach out wider to everyone. All right. So, um, is is Lori on the call? Does anyone know? Lori Ettringer?
I don't see her on the call.
Okay. All right. Then let's move on to um, introduce Laura Sullivan, who is the project manager from the SPJE Coalition. And Laura, take it away.
Thank you so much, Corinne. Hi, everyone. As Corinne said, I'm Laura Sullivan, and I've been the project manager for the Coalition to Stop Private Jet Expansion at Hanscom or Anywhere, or SPJE for short, for about 2 years now. Um, so thank you so much for the invitation to speak today. It's really awesome that Mothers Out Front has formed this affinity group. We also, just so you guys know, we have our leader, Katie Winchell, who's incredible on this call. And we have Corinne Dowd and Sue Swanson. Corinne just spoke. They are both leaders at Mothers Out Front Bedford, and they are instrumental to our campaign. Like, we could not do what we do without Corinne and Sue. So we're so grateful. And I'm sure many of you have also done a lot of work as because we had the DEIR last year, and there's just been so much that's happened. But it's really an honor to speak today, and I'm really excited to share our work with everyone here today. So, Corinne, next slide, please. Yes. So today I'll be discussing the proposed luxury private jet hangar expansion at Hanscom Field that the SPJE Coalition has been working to stop for over 2 years now. This length of time is actually a tribute to our work and the hard work of our partner organizations and supporters. A lot has happened in the past couple of years, and thus far we've been very successful, but we couldn't have done it without our supporters. And there's still more work to be done. So today I'll go over what's being proposed at Hanscom Field, why we want to stop it, what's happened so far, what's next, and how this affinity group can help. So next slide, please. Thanks, Corinne. So first I want to address a very important distinction. Hanscom Field and Hanscom Air Force Base are not the same entity. Hanscom Air Force Base is a military base with no airfield that is focused on cybersecurity. It operates adjacent to Hanscom Field, which is a general aviation airport owned by the Massachusetts Port Authority, or Massport, which is a quasi-public-private entity that also owns the Logan and Worcester airports. Now, less than 1% of the flights that go in and out of Hanscom Airfield each year are military flights. Hanscom Field is the second busiest airport in New England after Logan, and it's the largest and busiest private jet port in New England, catering to over 38,000 private jet operations annually. Next slide, please. Thanks. So Massport has proposed a massive expansion of 17 new hangars at Hanscom Field, which would add over 500,000 square feet of infrastructure on almost 50 acres of land, specifically for storing private jets. So this map laid out gives an idea of the scale of the project with the individual hangars. And the tiny black dot at the top represents the size of a typical house. Now, I just want to point out one thing, which is that the dark brown existing naval hangar used to be a part of the proposed development, but it's since been changed to be used for research and development purposes. But no matter what, if this expansion goes forward, the remaining 17 hangars will be used for private jet storage, and this is an enormous expansion. It's expected to house between 66 and 79 additional private jets at Hanscom, which would add roughly 6,000 additional flights each year and emit roughly 150,000 new tons of CO2 each year, which is more than double the emissions from the town of Lincoln as a whole, including its residents, its cars, its building, etc., from 2017. So next slide, please. So why do we care about this? Next slide. Well, as you know, as Mothers Out Front certainly knows, humans are polluting billions of tons of greenhouse gas emissions each year, and we need to take every measure possible to reduce these emissions in order to mitigate climate change. This is truly an emergency, and one that is already dramatically affecting frontline communities. For example, earlier this year, I heard about the first planned migration of an entire country as a result of climate change because their island nation could be underwater within the next 25 years. We hear about these wildfires in Canada and LA earlier this year, deadly heat waves over the summer, and disastrous flooding from storms like the ones that killed over 1,000 people in Southeast Asia just in the last week. But we have the power to stop these disasters from getting worse. And luckily, our communities are working hard to mitigate climate change. We have a statewide goal of achieving net zero by 2050. I myself joined the Lincoln Green Energy Committee this year, so I'm seeing firsthand the amount of time, energy, and money that is going in to mitigate the mitigation of climate change. We're hiring a municipal energy manager. We're finding locations across town to install solar panels and converting our vehicle fleet to electric. And I know other towns across Massachusetts are doing similar work, and that Mothers Out Front has been integral to making this work happen. Thanks to the efforts of many people here, Mothers Out Front's advocacy has pushed our state forward in our transition off of fossil fuels to renewable energy sources, allowing our state to effectively reduce its greenhouse gas emissions. This simply could not have been done without all of you here today, so thank you for that. We're very grateful. So next slide. All that is to say, communities and organizations across the Commonwealth have been working tirelessly and spending money to reduce their emissions and mitigate climate change. Meanwhile, private jets are the most polluting form of travel per passenger mile. A single 2.5-hour private jet flight, on average, emits the same amount of CO2 as a car does over 4 years. And a study by the Institute for Policy Studies that found that almost half of all private jet flights that go in and out of Hanscom each year are to luxury destinations, such as the Caribbean, Palm Beach, the Cape, etc. Only 0.0008% of the global population owns private jets. So a very small fraction of the population are using these jets, which pollute at astounding levels, often to fly to their luxury vacations and canceling out so much of our hard work to mitigate emissions in the process. And we aren't able to stop them because the FAA does not allow airports to regulate which planes can fly and when. But we are not helpless. We can prevent private jet storage infrastructure from being built to support the growth of private jet use, which is why we think it's so important to stop this expansion at Hanscom and its tracks. One of the most fundamentally limiting factors for private jet use is storage capacity. If there's no parking spots available, people are far less likely to buy and use private jets. You can think about it like parking garages in Boston. If there's nowhere to park, people are far less likely to drive to the city. They're more likely to use public transit. Now, it's been estimated that if this expansion goes forward, private jet flights at Hanscom alone would cancel out around 70% of all climate gains from all solar PV installed in Massachusetts. Next slide, please. Now, there are three major players who have the ability to stop this expansion. The first is the Massport board, including CEO Rich Davey. They seem to be fully invested in this project because it'll make them money. The second players are Jeffrey Leerink and Michael Argyros of Runway Realty Ventures and North Airfield Ventures. They're the developers who fully support this project. Interesting fact about Jeffrey Leerink. Remember the Steward Healthcare debacle that wreaked havoc on Massachusetts hospitals? Leerink's investment firm, Leerink Partners, helped Ralph De La Torre sell off the ailing hospitals. The third major player is our Massachusetts Governor, Maura Healey. She elected the Massport board members or has elected many of them and will continue to do so as governor, and therefore has influence over them. And given that she was elected by the people of Massachusetts, largely due to her strong stance on climate change, we hope that she will eventually come out in opposition to this expansion, although she has not done so yet. Next slide. So what's happened so far? Next slide. Well, so this fight has been going on for over 2 years now, and we've accomplished quite a bit. SPJE has grown to over 110 partner organizations from Boston to the Berkshires and beyond. Mothers Out Front National actually joined the coalition recently, which is really exciting. We have over 14,500 signatures on our petition in opposition to the proposed expansion, and we're aiming for 15,000 by the end of the year. 13 municipalities and 11 faith communities have passed or adopted resolutions in opposition to the proposed expansion at Hanscom, and we have others in the works. And overall, we've grown from a local campaign to a statewide coalition since we started out in May 2023. So next slide, please. Okay. Sorry, my slides got a little messed up. That's fine. One of our biggest achievements was last year when the developers submitted their draft environmental impact report, or DEIR, to the MEPA office. In the DEIR, the developers claimed that the proposed expansion would not only reduce flights, but that it would also reduce emissions. An independent study commissioned by citizens groups refuted that. Thanks to the study and a tidal wave of over 1,500 comments on the proposed expansion, the MEPA office rejected the developers' DEIR and sent them back to the drawing board to completely redo the report. We've been waiting for this next report, the Supplemental Draft Environmental Impact Report, or SDEIR, for over a year now. And the latest from the developers is that the SDEIR will be released sometime early next year, likely March, and will need the same outpouring of comments in opposition when it's released. Meanwhile, while we've been waiting, we've not been idle. And this is where I go back. If you could go back to the previous slide, Corinne, that would be really helpful. Maybe not. Maybe it was. Okay. Yes, this slide. Perfect. Thank you. Although SPJE focuses on the effect that the proposed Hanscom expansion will have on our climate, I think it's really important to mention an air quality study that was released earlier this year. This study was funded by the 4 Hanscom area towns because of community concerns about how the proposed expansion would affect ultrafine particle concentrations, or UFPs, in the area. UFPs are a type of pollution that often comes from combustion engines and are found in large quantities near airports since planes produce them in large amounts. UFPs have been shown to adversely affect human health, and as a result, the World Health Organization, or WHO, has guidance for good practice for UFP concentrations. The study found that every single test site around Hanscom had UFP concentrations that exceeded WHO thresholds under at least one of the testing conditions, and the ones near the airport often greatly exceeded them. Any expansion of private jet traffic at Hanscom would increase these levels. In addition, because of the piston engine planes that fly in and out of Hanscom, which use leaded avgas, lead was found in every single sample from this study. And on average, samples taken from around Hanscom were found to have higher lead concentrations than samples taken from around Logan. It's important to note that the CDC and the EPA say there is no safe concentration of lead in the bloodstream. We do expect that this study will be submitted as a comment on the SDEIR. Next slide, please. Thanks. In addition, thanks to the hard work of many legislators, activist groups, our partner organizations, and others, an update to the Massport's charter was included in the Massachusetts 2024 climate bill. This charter update requires Massport to promote environmental protection and resilience, reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, and environmental justice principles just as much as it promotes commerce, economic prosperity, security, and safety. This is the first update to the Massport Charter since 1956 and provides new leverage for our campaign since Massport owns Hanscom Field. So next slide. So what's next? Next slide. Thank you. More recently, a major push for our campaign has been educating the public and policymakers about deceptive marketing from the aviation industry concerning sustainable aviation fuels, or SAFs. Why is a group that's focused on climate in opposition to a solution that could potentially reduce emissions, you might ask? It's because while Massport and the aviation industry claim that SAFs will decarbonize aviation, SAFs are not actually as green as they'd like us to believe. In fact, the implementation of SAFs could cause detrimental problems for our electric grid and our global food security. There's a lot more to be said about that, but suffice it to say, SAFs certainly cannot be used as justification for the continued expansion of the private jet industry. If you're interested in learning more, I encourage you to read IPS's report, Barriers to Implementing SAF in Massachusetts, which they released in October, as well as their previous report, Greenwashing the Skies. Both reports go into great detail about why sustainable aviation fuels, as they stand now, simply are not a good choice for decarbonizing aviation. Next slide, please. So what can you do if you want to support SPJE and stop the expansion at Hanscom? First, you can sign our petition at spje.org/sign to let Governor Healy know that you oppose the expansion of private jets at Hanscom. This is incredibly important. Senator Barrett said that he thinks we can win this one, and Representative Gentile agreed at our State House rally on October 14th. We just need enough people to rally to our cause, so please sign our petition and ask your networks to do the same. Second, the SDEIR is expected to come out sometime early next year, possibly March. So make sure you get ready to comment when it's released and activate your networks to do the same. If you sign our petition at spje.org/sign, you'll receive our action alerts. When the SDEIR comes out, we'll update everyone who is subscribed to our email list and send them a toolkit to make commenting easier. Finally, now that Mothers Out Front has an affinity group, we can start spreading the word farther and wider than before. Mothers Out Front is such a powerful organization. Simply by having your members meet and discuss the campaign, you're already helping advance our cause. By activating Mothers Out Front members, you'll be doing amazing work connecting people and spreading ideas. But other ways you can get engaged include writing to local newspapers about our campaign, organizing standouts, or working to get municipalities and faith communities to adopt or pass resolutions in opposition to the Hanscom expansion. But that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at info@spje.org. Corinne is also a great resource. She's so good at what she does, and she always keeps us connected with people who need information or anything from us. So I'll pass it over now, I think either to Corinne or Sue to do the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you, Laura, so much. That information was so incredibly valuable. And yes, Sue Swanson from our Bedford chapter will be facilitating Q&A. Sue, all yours.
Okay. So nothing's in the chat that I've seen. So does anyone have questions or comments about what we've all heard? Yes, Melanie.
I'm curious, has Governor Healy received any signatures from the petition yet, or
Oh yeah.
she
Yes.
has? Okay.
Yes, she received them. Before I joined, there was a presentation of the signatures at a State House event. And then also when the DEIR was submitted, our petition signatures were submitted as a comment on the
Okay.
DEIR.
Okay, great. Good. Thanks.
Lori, and then I think Jude actually had her hand up first.
Yeah, is the leaded avgas used in the jets?
Not in the big jets. That's why our campaign focuses primarily on the climate issue, because the big jets don't use the leaded avgas. It's the smaller prop planes that do.
Thanks.
And Lori.
So my question is regarding the next DEIR report.
Yeah.
I think I remember last time that there was some effort, and I don't know if it was, I'm sorry, I don't know that if it was SPJE or another agency that sort of read and digested it and helped us develop points for our responses. Was something like that going to be organized again this time?
Yes, so that's one of the things. If you sign our petition at spje.org/sign, anybody who's registered to our email list will receive a toolkit from us. We're the ones who did the toolkit last time, and we'll be doing a toolkit again when the SDEIR comes out.
And before Rick, I just wanted to call your attention to the chat because the Mothers Out Front link to the petition is in the chat. So if you haven't done it yet, now is the time. Or if you just want to cut and paste it and share it with your friends, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I would also like to say that link lets us know who is signing our petition because of Mothers Out Front. And so it gives you guys like actionable data about the impact that you're making. So when you're doing it, please do use the Mothers Out Front link so you guys can know.
If you don't remember it, use the one on the web on the SPJE website. That's okay, but this is better. So Rick and then Melanie again.
Thank you, Laura. That was a great presentation. Very well done, and I appreciate the effort you put into it. Do we have any feedback as to the tack being taken on the supplemental EIR? Are they going to just try and refute the facts? Or are they taking a new tack? Do we have any idea at all as to what the strategy is going to be when they come back with the supplemental?
I'll pass it over to Katie in a second, but I do have a couple of responses to that. The first is I think they're going to lean heavily on sustainable aviation fuels. That's part of why it's been such a big part of our campaign. They basically want to say it doesn't matter if we expand because sustainable aviation fuels will save the day. And there's a whole host of reasons why that just isn't the case. And so we're trying to get ahead of the game by making sure that everybody knows that even if we research sustainable aviation fuels, they're not going to be ready by 2050, and there's no reason we should be expanding private jets as a result, because sustainable aviation fuels will somehow save the day. The other thing I would say is they might be waiting until this climate bill that I'm sure you guys heard about last year is whatever happens with that is finalized, because that will have major implications for the requests that Tepper made of the SDEIR. Katie, do you have anything you want to add? You're muted.
Thank you. Another point that they made back in the spring when they had public meetings, and this is around May, is that they are going to rely heavily. They've invited a firm called Intervista to help them come up with a better phase plan than they had prior in the DEIR. And the thinking, I mean, that was a shambles, the sort of phasing that they had described in the DEIR. So much of it didn't make any sense. So they've hired this firm to do that. But it also seems, they seem to think that if they build this out in phases, it will have less environmental impact. So it's a little bit like if you eat, just 2 pieces of cake a day, then it won't be as many calories, as when you eat it all at once. So that it's going to be very interesting to see how they think they can get away with that. We are looking into hiring the same firm in Industrial Economics Inc. that had submitted their analysis of ferry flights and claims about lower operations and lower GHG emissions. IEC did a fabulous job refuting that with actual data. And we've already been in touch with them so that when this is dropped, when the SDEIR is filed, they can be at the ready to review it and to see if the information there is accurate, especially when their analysis is being quoted by the developers. So it looks like Melanie has a question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Melanie.
Yeah, something I've been wondering about. You mentioned avgas and prop planes. Now, and I don't know what avgas is, and is that as bad? Is it different? Is there a distinction made between jets and prop planes when we talk about?
Yeah.
You're nodding yes. So
Yeah, I can say a little bit about just a quick summary, and then Katie can probably give a little more detail. But basically, prop planes use avgas is a different type of gas. It just has a different chemical composition than Jet A, which is the type of fuel that these big private jets use. So while the tiny planes that use leaded avgas, because the FAA hasn't allowed them to use any other kind of, as far as I know, and I spoke to a pilot about this a little while ago, they're not allowed to use other types of fuel. The tiny ones use the leaded avgas, but they don't pollute as much. Whereas the giant planes have a much higher pollution level because they're bigger. So that's really the big difference. Katie, do you want to add anything?
thanks.
Yeah, so they have 2 different types of engines. The smaller planes have piston engines, and they're designed to use this other kind of gas called avgas. The problem with avgas is that they are very high lead polluters. And in fact, for a long time, Hanscom was among the top 10 or so lead producing or lead polluting airports in the country. And that is being phased out, or was going to be phased out by the EPA. I don't know the status of leaded avgas right now. And just as Laura said, the private jets use Jet A fuel, and its composition is much more destructive of the atmosphere, leading to climate change. So avgas doesn't do that. It has
It's
the
bad,
problem
but
with
not like that. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, more questions.
Oh, Corinne.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you've heard any status updates regarding the Old Navy hangar and the Merlin Research and Development, and whether any of the advocacy is going to be focused in that direction, or whether it's just now turning to the 17 new hangars.
Katie, I'll let you take that one if you want.
Sure. Yeah. Given the fact that the old Navy hangar project involves basically one hangar, and it will be used not for private jet travel, but for, as Laura said, for research and development. We are going to focus on the larger development, the one that we believe is going to have greater impact on the climate. And we did our stint from May through August, putting in public comments and so on, trying to stop the Navy hangar project because it has a lot of problems in and of itself. One of the things is that two of the jets that have been listed for that project are in fact private jets. Two of the aircraft are private jets. So in any case, the short answer is that we're going to focus on the larger project, and that's what the SDEIR is going to also.
Katie, actually, this is a great question. This is a great question because it clarifies something for me, which is isn't the 18th hangar gonna be part of the SDEIR as well? So when we're commenting on the SDEIR and the 17 hangar expansion, we'll also be able to comment on the 18th hangar. It's just it's already going forward, so there's not really as much we can
Very
do.
good point. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the other thing too we learned from the public meetings is that even though they are now designing the development to go forward in distinct phases, the environmental review will only happen once, and this is it, the SDEIR. So each subsequent phase will not then get another review or another chance at public comments.
Any other questions? Oh yeah, Carol, go ahead.
What the DES stands for draft environmental what?
Impact report.
Oh, impact. Okay.
Anything else? Any other comments, questions, concerns? All right.
So may I just add something?
Oh, absolutely.
So, this is one of so many different fights, and many of them are so much larger than directing efforts at one particular project. I think one thing we try to make a point of is that this isn't just one project affecting area communities. It will be impacting all of the state and the efforts that we're trying to do and make throughout the state to reduce carbon emissions. That's one piece. The other piece is that at the federal level, there are so many enormous problems, rollbacks, cuts, and we're feeling it here at the state level. One reason to continue with this or to join this campaign is that it appears to be winnable. We are fighting a mighty agency, a state agency. We've been at it for 3 years now, really, come December. And the fact that we've stalled them out for this long is a huge success and achievement in itself. The fact that we're able, with our combined public comments, be able to get a rejection from MEPA directed against the developers is another huge achievement. And the fact that just recently, as Laura mentioned, at the October 14th event, Senator Barrett, Representative Gentile, and in previous events, Representative Cataldo all feel that this is winnable. So for that reason alone, it's an important thing to pursue and to bring it to a successful end.
That is really true. And yes, Jude.
I realized that one of the things that wasn't covered in at least what you presented on the impact is the loss of trees.
Yes.
And it's funny, I've been Mothers Out Front work for a couple handfuls of years, it seems. And I was always just like, yeah, trees, whatever, and trees impact is huge. I hadn't realized. And so I'm just wondering if that's in there as well.
Oh, 100%. We actually have just we've been working to get Professor Mumau out to Concord, and I think that that's going to happen sometime next year. So keep an eye out for that because his work is integral to our work. And we definitely don't want to undersell the impact of trees on and the fact that they store carbon on what this expansion will do.
Great.
100%.
Absolutely. And one of our first collaborations with Sierra Club Massachusetts was having an outing at the Bedford Forests in order to educate people to the fact that there are nearly 20 acres of mature trees that will be coming down, just clear cut and filled with pavement with, I think, 15 of the hangars on the perimeter of where, there is right now this grove of trees. So that has been something we also keep an eye on, and we would love to have Dr. Muma suggest and help us out with this fight. And in May, when he comes out, we hope to have longer conversations with him about that.
Melanie.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that we had Mumar here in speaking in Newton in February. It was amazing. His talk is so powerful. I mean, so if you get an opportunity to go and hear him, he's definitely worth it. Yeah, it's great. I'm so happy that you're going to have him.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he's scheduled for May 3rd in Concord.
Yes. It's not SPJE that's specifically hosting him because he wanted to get in connection with the UU churches, but SPJE helped facilitate that process. And we've made a connection with him as a result.
Good, good. I think I want to say that one of the reasons that I think it's really important to keep doing this campaign is the fact that it will be pivotal in what happens next. As Kati can tell you, there's been over 24 inquiries from across the country from airport groups or airport abutters. What do? We're facing expansion, not the same kind of thing, but expanding airports is a big thing. And if we can show that we can fight them, that will put so much wind in everybody's sails. And the other thing that I personally witnessed was in the summer of 23, when this was just getting started, both of my legislators said, well, the best we can do is find a clean accommodation. That was Senator Barrett with a green the buildings. That's the most we can hope for, is they have a green building. And the same thing with Rep. Gordon. They did not see how we could buck the system. And now, especially with Senator Barrett, he is just the best advocate because he sees that we can buck the system. And even, perish the thought, it does go through, we have made such a difference so that it still, we can still win. I'm not giving up that. But no matter what happens in the future, we've already won so much. So, hope that you can continue your involvement and share the enthusiasm for the project, because this is consequential.
Yeah, and likewise, while we wait for the SDIR to be filed, there's lots of things you can do in the meantime, in addition to sharing the petition widely with others. If you are involved with any other like climate organizations or know people that are, encourage them to join the coalition, because that'll help grow our power. If you are affiliated with a faith community or know people who are, let them know about the faith resolution, because the more faith groups that join the coalition and send these resolutions to Governor Healy and other elected officials, it's really going to send a strong message. And then also the municipal campaigns as well. So there's lots of different things.
Also, if you ever want somebody to come out and speak, please do let us know. I'm happy to do it, and we can send another volunteer. We'll see what group it is and who would be most appropriate. Oftentimes, if we have UU churches who want us to come speak, we'll send somebody from a UU church. But if you ever have any desire for a presentation, please do let us know.
And what I love about the faith campaign is it's not just one religion. People from various religions have signed, and it's not just one area. It spans across the state. So it's really great.
Any other comments or questions, additions? All right, how many pledges to write a public comment, folks? Come on. And it numbers, content matters, but that's why the IEC, I think it is, the IEC guidelines are going to be so helpful to give us solid data. But as I was learning this morning at a lobbying training session, we should appeal to the heart, the head, and the hand. So the head is going to be provided for us, the facts, the errors in that project. We add a little bit of our heartfelt passion to help them make it memorable. And then we give them, this has to go. The hand is the logistical handles that will carry the message. So we're going to have help. We're not going to do it, invent it ourselves, but it makes a difference. And so we did over, is it 1,500 for the first report? So now we're challenged to do at least 1,500.
That's right.
2,000. And that makes a difference. And I think that's one of the things that really impressed Secretary Tepper. She said, oh my goodness, this isn't just some slip it through thing. This is a serious concern. Writing a comment is harder than signing a petition. That's true, but it's not impossible. It doesn't take 40 hours of effort, at least not on our part. And it will make a difference. So I urge you all to keep your ears open, your eyes open, your ears alert for information about it coming this spring. And we have your names, so we're going to contact you. Anything else? Corinne told me I get to say the thanks and goodbye to everybody. So it really does take a village. It takes all of us doing our part at various different levels. And I want to really, I love that picture of Laura. That's great. It took me a while to see it. Thank you all. Lara, for your wonderful presentation, Corinne, for the amazing job she does organizing all this, and Kati, the ground of our being in this effort. You are incredible. But you need us just like we need you. So thank you to all of us, all of you, for coming tonight, even in this busy, busy, busy season of politics and holidays. And hopefully going forward to stay connected with the group, the Affinity group, with the campaign, with all these other wonderful, important causes that we work to make our climate comfortable and our planet livable. And Kathy, you